Hi there, yogis, and welcome to your week 7 practice. This week we're going to be focusing on tools to combat a mood swing. So all those lovely hormones that we have coursing through our system just kind of create the mood swing effect. So you may not feel like yourself, and you may feel a little bit out of control. So we're going to use our practice today to bring ourselves back into our own bodies and use our breath as a tool to maintain a calm demeanor. So, to get started today, you're going to need a strap and a blanket. Pretty easy. We're going to start in child's pose. So you can go ahead onto your mat. You're going to take your toes together and knees come apart. And then you're going to sit back with your bum on your heels. If this is an uncomfortable position for you, you can always take your blanket, slide your blanket in between your knees, and that's going to keep your bottom a little bit higher up and create a little bit of a cushion there. So it's up to you. Figure out what works best for you and then go for it. So we're sitting back on our heel bones and reaching your palms forward, fingers spread wide. Take your forehead to the mat and start to calm the breath. Inhale and exhale through the nose. Seeing if you can make your inhale and your exhale equal in length. If you can do nothing else in those times where you start to get a little angry, get a little irritated, focusing on your breath and making your breath even and calm is one of those things that's going to take you a long way. So really use this tool. As we're here in child's pose, make sure you're breathing into your lower back, filling up the back of your lungs. So really using each area of our lung as we inhale. Place both palms firmly on the mat. Take your toes, tuck them under, and then start to come into a downward facing dog, pushing your hips to the back wall, hands firmly in the mat, feet hip distance apart, thigh bones and hips push all the way back as you find a straight spine. If you have any little twinges that you want to work out, you can pedal your heels out. You can rock side to side, whatever feels good to you to get into this pose. And then we're going to walk our hands all the way back to your feet. Inhale, look forward, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. And then gently roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. We're going to start standing today, so go ahead and take your feet hip distance apart. So where your hip bones are, your hip bones. Right under that is going to be your knees, and then right under that your ankles. Toes face forward. Inhale, reach both arms up. Get nice and long and lean. Again, watch those front ribs. You want to soften the front ribs, and that way we don't have too much of a sway back. And exhale, release. Palms come behind us. Grasp your hands together, and then pull down with your knuckles as you lift with your chest. Inhale, arms come up. And exhale, reach your right arm over to the left. Stretch through the side of your body. Create space between your rib cage and your hip. Inhale, palms come up. Exhale, left arm reaches over to the other side. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, reach over to the right. Get nice and long and lean. Really ground in through your feet. Inhale, one more time. And exhale, left arm reaches over. Palms come up. And on your exhale, forward fold, come all the way down to your mat. Flat back all the way down until you reach the mat. Inhale, lengthen, look forward. Exhale, release. 2 more times. Inhale, shoulder blades on your back, sternum rises. Exhale, release. And one more time. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. And roll up, one vertebrae at a time. Stand facing the wide edge of your mat. We're going to take our right foot and turn it to face the skinny edge of your mat, the short edge of your mat. And then your left heel is going to drop back slightly. Your hips are going to naturally start to curve a little bit. This left hip is going to start to come forward. That's fine. Your shoulders are going to be stacked over your hips. And as your right toe points forward, you're going to track your right knee over it. So you're going to gently bend your front knee until you get to a place where you're comfortable. The goal is always to get a little parallel, but once you have the flexibility in your hips, that'll be available. Until then, the important thing is to track that knee over the toe. So knee over your toe, back foot rooted into the ground. You want the pinky edge of the back foot to meet the mat. Shoulders over your hips, arms float out to the side. And this is Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. To steady your gaze and to help your concentration, you're going to take your drishti, or your gaze, over your right middle finger and gently sink into the pose. We're going to hold here for a while. This is one of the poses that is a strengthening pose, but it's also great for our pelvic floor because it has to work the entire time we're here. So holding this pose here, focusing on your breath, staring at one point straight ahead, your drishti. These are all tools that you're going to use during labor. When those contractions get strong, you just sink into yourself, ignore the pain, breathe, and focus on one point. Sink a little bit lower. Good. Take your right arm to your thigh, and you're going to reach your left arm up and overhead. If this is too much on your shoulder, feel free to just reach straight up to the ceiling, or turn your palm and then reach overhead. Again, when you start to get the flexibility in your hips, you can bring your hips down and start to create a more parallel line, a straight line from your fingertips all the way down to your pinky edge of your foot. This is extended side angle pose. As you're here, you're going to take your left shoulder and start to rotate up toward your ceiling. Again, you can check in with that knee. Make sure your right knee is stacked over your right ankle. Good. Leading with your left hand, keeping your feet solid and where they are, you're going to come up to Warrior 2 again. And then push through your right foot, come to stand, release your hands down, and take both feet parallel. Give yourself a pat on the back. That's a hard little sequence. Take your left leg, turn it out. You're going to rotate it deep from the hip. So you don't just want to move the foot, you really want to move the entire leg. Point the left toes to the short end of your mat. Drop your right heel back slightly. Bend your left knee take it over your left ankle. Again, you want to make sure that your knee doesn't go past your toes. And then float the arms out to the side. Ground down through your feet, again, finding the four corners of your foot, the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, and the two back corners of your heel. Hold here and breathe. Relax your shoulders. You don't want them up by your ears. You want them nice and relaxed, shoulders on your back. If you feel that you're sticking your bottom out, kind of popping that booty, take it back in, firm the abdomen up, bring your pelvis underneath your rib cage. Only a little longer, take yourself inside, focus on your breathing. Don't forget about your back arm, your right arm. Make sure you can even take a look back and check. If it starts to droop, just bring it right back up. Left elbow to your thigh. First, reach your right arm straight up toward the ceiling. If this is enough for you, you can stay here or turn your palm to face where your left toes are facing, and then reach it up by your ear. Again, you're creating a nice diagonal line from your fingertips all the way down to the pinky edge of your right foot. Rotating your torso open toward the ceiling. If you start to dump a little bit, just grow tall through your rib cage and find that extension. The great thing about these poses is they take a lot of concentration because they're hard. So when you're here and your body's working and this is what you're focused on, it helps really distract you from what you were angry about. Gets your endorphins flowing, gets your mood elevated a little bit, which is great. Keep your feet nice and solid on the mat and leading with your right arm. Come all the way up to Warrior Two first. Pause here. And then press down through your feet. Straighten the legs. Release the arms. Both toes forward. And then just walk your feet in. Nice job. Next pose that we're going to do, again, a little bit challenging of a pose. Going to take your feet hip distance apart. And we're going to sit into a chair pose. If your balance has been a little off, feel free to use a wall. Again, when you're later in pregnancy, it's going to be a good thing to use a wall because you've got a lot of weight there that you weren't used to carrying around before. So, feet hip distance apart, either at a wall or on your mat. Sit your bottom back, stack your knees over your ankles, lift your sternum, spread your collarbones, take your hands to heart center, chair pose. So the hard thing in this pose, stay there, is that a lot of times when we sit into chair pose, we want to go forward. That's really bad for our knees, especially because we're going to have the hormone relaxin coursing through our system. So you want to take your knees back and your bottom back and then sit. Sitting here in chair pose, breathing in and out through the nose. As hard as the pose is, just think of all the benefits that your little booty gets as you hold it here. Use your abdominals, use your pelvic floor. These are all areas that we want to keep strong. And inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, forward fold, come all the way down. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. And step back to downward facing dog. Grow nice and tall through your abdomen. Create space for baby. If you have tight hamstrings, keep your knees a little bent. Gently lower your knees to the mat, come onto all fours. And we're going to take a few cat-cows. So we're going to inhale, roll the shoulders onto your back, drop the belly down, look slightly forward. Exhale, curve the spine, tuck the chin in. Inhale, stretch the belly out. Exhale, push through the hands, create space between your shoulder blades. One more time. And last time, exhale. Good. You're going to curl your toes and then come right back up to downward facing dog. Step both feet forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. And then reverse swan, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Next, we're going to work on a balance pose, tree pose, or vrikshasana. If your balance is off, you can use a wall. If you feel pretty steady, that's fine too. Just come to your mat. You're going to stand on your right foot and take your left foot into, first level is going to be a tripod. If tripod's comfortable, then you can move up a level to your shin. Knees going to face out so that you're externally rotating from your left hip. Or if this is enough and you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, you can take your left foot and place it all the way up on your thigh. So really here what we're avoiding is the knee area, because if we put pressure on the knee, it's just not a good thing. So find your balance. Take your palms to heart center. Roll your shoulders back and down. Grow your sternum up, create space for baby. And you can hold here, or extend your arms up to the ceiling and grow your tree tall. No matter where you're at, focus on your breathing. If you step out of your balance pose, that's okay. It's part of life. Just come right back into it. Again, this is a great pose because when your emotions start to fluctuate, it's really hard to keep your balance. So holding onto a pose like this, that is challenging yet accessible, is something that you can do throughout pregnancy. It takes your mind into the present moment. So all you're doing is trying to stay up. Palms come together and close down to heart center. Release and gently take the leg down. You can step it out, get a little blood moving back into the leg. Same thing on the other side now. Root down through the left foot. Again, you can lift your toes, ground through the big toe mound, pinky toe mound, the back two corners of the foot, and lift the arches of your foot. This is going to give you a little bit more of a stable balance. Choose your level, kickstand, calf, or all the way up to thigh. Once you're there, start to take your arms up to heart center. Again, wobbling is just part of life. Let it happen, and then try again. Palms to heart center. Focus on your breathing. Focus on growing tall. It's called tree pose, so you want to really mimic that of a tree. So strong roots, a big tall trunk that is sturdy. And then the final component, if you feel ready for it, grow your branches up toward the sky. Be mindful of your shoulders. If they start to hike up toward your ears, just exhale, release, and let them sink back. Your shoulder blades finding their home on your back. A few more breaths. Palms together. Release down to your heart. And let go. Nice job. Okay, we're going to take it down to the mat. So go ahead, just sit on your bottom. We're going to start with straight legs. Legs are going to be hip distance apart. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of space between your thighs so that you can fit the belly, especially as you progress further along. So inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, start to reach for your toes. If the toes are inaccessible and you're still working on your flexibility, have your strap handy, and then just wrap your strap around your feet and pull yourself forward that way. Working on stretching and forward folding. It doesn't matter how far you can get. It's just the action of taking your head down, of reaching forward, and starting to release all of the chemicals that get created when you get upset. So forward folds have a very calming effect for this reason. Come up to a seated position. Take the soles of your feet together. Drop your knees out to the side. Sit up tall. Open your feet like a book. And then keeping a straight spine, start to hinge at the hip forward. Press your elbows into your knees in your butterfly pose or Baddha Konasana. And feel a release through your hips. When you start to curve your back, really find that length again. We have to make room for the baby, so if that is a good motivating factor for you, use that. And come all the way up, knees together. Make sure you've got enough mat behind you. Grab your strap, and then lay down on your back. Keeping both knees bent, your feet on the floor, we're going to take our straps, lift your right leg up to the ceiling, and loop the strap around the ball mound of your right foot. Extend your right leg straight and stack the ankle over the hip so that it is perpendicular to the floor. This is enough of a stretch for you. That's fine, stay here. If you'd like a little bit more, you can straighten out your left leg, flexing the left toes and keeping that leg active. Gently pull the right leg toward you, lengthening the hamstring. Eventually, the goal is to be able to loop your right fingers around your right toes, but you really need to keep those shoulders on the mat. So that's why we use the strap in this case. Helps create a little more length so that we're not peeling our torso off the mat. Take both ends of the strap into your right hand. Place your left hand on the floor next to you out to the side. And then start to open up your right leg to the side. All the while keeping your left hip on the mat. So if you'd like to keep your left hand on your left hip as you open up to the side in order to make sure that it doesn't roll, that's fine too. Just go as far as it's comfortable for you. And then back up to center. Switch hands. You're going to take your left hand and grab the strap. Take your right arm out to the side, and then take your right leg across your body. Right leg back up to the ceiling, and gently release. We're going to bend both knees again, your feet on the mat, and we're starting from the top. Take your left foot, wrap the strap around it. Extend toward the ceiling, find where that perpendicular line is. See how it feels there, check in with yourself. If you'd like a little more, straighten out your right leg, flex your right toes, or you could stay there. And then gently pull the left foot in, stretching out the back of your leg, your hamstring. Keeping the breath steady, Take both ends of the strap into your left hand. Keep your right hand either on your right hip or out to the side, whichever you prefer. And then open up your left foot to the side. Hopefully you don't run into a wall like I did. Hips are staying on the mat, shoulders on the mat. Nice solid torso. Right foot stays flexed. Bring your left leg back up to center. Grab both ends of the strap with your right arm. Take your left arm out to the side like an airplane wing, and then cross your left leg over. Stretch out the outside of your hip. If you're a little further along in pregnancy, this pose is going to start to be unavailable because your belly is going to be in the way. In that case, you would just stay perpendicular and pull the leg towards your chest instead of crossing. And back up to the middle. Release the strap and let go. We're going to do a simple twist. Take your feet as wide as your mat, knees as wide as your mat. You can rest your palms on your belly, or you can reach them up and overhead. Drop both knees to the right. Toward yoga class, if you go and attend a yoga class in your community, they typically do twists at the end of class. This gets a little complicated the further along in pregnancy that you go. So taking your feet wide and creating a little more space is a great alternative for you to take to those classes. Bring your knees back up to center, readjust your lower back, and take both knees over to the left. And knees back up to the center. Now's a good time to grab your timer. We're going to lay down for a little meditation. Again, it's depending on how long you have. So if you have 3 minutes, 3 minutes is great. If you have 5 minutes, that's great too. But this is your time and part of your yoga practice. So even though I will be signing off, please feel free to stay as long as you'd like. So we're going to set our timers and then come on down into Final Shavasana, which sounds fancy, but it's really just laying on our backs. So lower yourself down to your back. Take your feet wide. Release your feet so that they turn out and your legs are just like jello. There's no tension in them whatsoever. Relax your shoulders into the mat, spreading through your collarbones. Take your hands out to the side so that they're not touching your body. Palms are going to face up toward the ceiling. And while you're here, just release any tension that you're holding in your body. If you feel like your lower back is tight, send your breath there. See if you can't release it. Maybe you're still holding on to tension in your neck, in your trapezius. Release that, send your breath there, relax. Let yourself just breathe normally. Focus on your breathing. Focus on relaxing. And as any thoughts pass through your mind, just acknowledge them and let them go. Now is the time to really be in your own body. It's a time that you'll use later in pregnancy, even now, to start to connect with baby. So cherish this time. Don't skimp it. Really use it. So I encourage you to stay here for as long as you have. Enjoy the benefits of relaxation and meditation. For me, I'm going to be signing off until next week. I hope you enjoy your practice and it brings a little more emotional balance to your life. Namaste, yogis.